wellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
You're listening to A Quirky Journey, the healthy family podcast with your hosts Jo Whitten and Fuad Kassab.
Ho, 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 and Merry Christmas.
I don't know. Are you gonna like put white spray paint on your beard? What?
Yes. It's already getting back. Thank you so much. Welcome to yet another episode of A Quirky Journey. With me are two amazing people, Jo Whitten and Elyse Comerford, for our second last podcast for this year. Mm-hmm. Guys, welcome back on the show. Jo, this is your show, so it's funny to welcome you back.
Well, it's our show.
It feels like your show. So,
I know. I'm pretty. I'm starting to get pretty adopted here.
Adopted now. So you just have to be part of it.
Oh, thanks, guys. I love being part of this show.
Well, we love having you.
Yes, totally. But this is the time of year to be jolly, and we thought it's a really good thing to finish the last few podcasts with talking about Christmas, focusing on all the things all around Christmas, dealing with the holidays, the difficulties, the craziness, the food, the gluten, the allergies, the grumpy kids, that kind of stuff. And,
oh gosh, people are going to start dreading it now. The fun, the family, the summer,
the shock, the horror, the terrible. The terribleness, the awful times that you have over Christmas.
Okay, Fuad's going to do the depressing bit, and we'll do
Yeah.
We know you don't mean it, Fuad.
It's not, we all know that Christmas is like a beautiful time of the year, but it also can be very stressful. Yes. So I think, what we're trying to put together here is strategies to make it successful, happy, just gut-friendly, energy-friendly, happy Christmas. Yes. So this is really the topic of the day. Jo, do you want to kick it over from here?
Okay. Well, we've been thinking through some topics earlier, and in our other two Christmas podcasts, one which we've already released and one which is coming up with Jude Bureau, it's more of a focus on whole foods and more of a general focus. So we thought we'd focus in more on the gut health aspects at this time of year. So we're thinking of those people who are working through gaps over Christmas, or they're still on their gut healing journey and they're not able to just go full whole foods yet, because otherwise it'll make them quite sick. So Elyse is the expert in this area. So Elyse, tell us some things that can help these people over Christmas to feel excited about the treats and the food and not worried that they're going to miss out.
Okay, well, I'll start from the first things I think about when it comes to Christmas. So first of all, I absolutely refuse to get stressed about Christmas because I've always loved Christmas. Ever since I was a kid, of course, I've always loved Christmas. So I've just watched that happen with the adults in my life, and just people around you, just everyone getting so stressed over Christmas. And I think I made a decision a while ago that I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get stressed over Christmas. So in our family, we try and keep things really simple because we've really all made it about family and about seeing each other, spending time together, rather than trying to make it too focused on the food and the gifts. So some things just to reduce stress around Christmas, which everyone knows how much I love talking about reducing stress as the most important thing you can be doing. We've really limited the whole gift giving thing. So we've made an agreement in our family that we focus more on birthdays. And then that means throughout the year, then, you get a bit of space between birthdays and you have to think about one person at a time. And it means at Christmas, we're not going out and buying a whole lot of presents. So my parents will still get us a couple of things, but my brothers and my nephews, we don't do anything for them. We just do their birthdays, and then I buy myself something nice. So that's kind of what we do. So we're not worried about getting lots of presents from everyone else and buying presents for everyone. And I just buy myself a couple of nice things that I've been wanting, and then that's what I end up spending.
What are you getting this year?
So I got myself a pair of swimmers.
Swimmers?
Yes.
Sounds like it's a good time of year to be.
Yeah. Cockatoos on there. Cockatoo swimmers.
Oh, how cute.
I know. And I've laid by a pair of pants. That's all I've done so far. So I don't know what else I'll be getting myself. Maybe a new Solid Techniques pen. Who knows?
Ooh, that sounds
yeah.
So 10% off discount and
just saying.
So yeah, that's just like I guess on the gift giving side of things, of bringing the stress down there, and it's probably a bit too late in the year to organise that with your family, but it's a good thing to think about. Simplifying it a little bit. And I know when I think back on Christmas when I was a kid, and I was having a really good think about this before doing this podcast with you guys, of what I remember most about Christmas when I was a kid. And yes, the presents are definitely exciting, but it was like all my family being together, and that we'd go and see our cousins, and we'd go and, have the big meal, and it was really the time together that was so exciting about Christmas. So I think we do tend to put it on kids that, that we kind of project that it's all about the presents. But I think it's more about the presents. As in, just see what I did there? So it's being together, and that's like my memories, and what feels so good about Christmas for me is that.
That's a wonderful sentiment. But what about people who have like terrible families that they don't really want to
find some good friends to hang out with?
Find nice friends. That's right. Well, go on an overseas holiday.
On a cruise.
Yeah. Go on a cruise. That's it. They have good discounts this time of year. Just kind of making it more about that. And I like to be nice and simple with gifts and everything. The things I choose for Dylan are always eco-friendly. Use recycled wrapping paper, because did you know that your normal kind of wrapping paper you get at the reject shop cannot be recycled, which makes me cringe.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. All that like gaudy wrapping paper, it can't be recycled. It needs to go in the red bin. So you can buy recycled wrapping paper, and that can be recycled. Yeah. So there's a little side note, not nutrition related. So and the importance of simplifying, of course, like what we know about stress is that it really wears out your adrenals, it brings your health down. So if you're on this journey because you're healing some gut issues, healing some chronic health issues, the last thing you need is a stressful Christmas, because all these things that we're becoming stressed about is affecting our health, affecting our healing. So it is important in that lead up to Christmas to, make sure you have all that kind of thing as least stressful as it can be. And I've talked a little bit, I think we talked about in the adrenal podcast, saying that it's like deciding on the things that are worth stressing about and what's not. And the whole point of Christmas is to have a good time. Like, it really should just be about that. So if trying to make the perfect cake or the perfect dessert or the perfect this is causing you more stress than enjoyment, and then you end up being stressed out on Christmas Day and snapping at someone or something, where's the enjoyment in that? Was that actually worth it? So I think it's good to kind of sit down and plan what you're actually going to make, not end up just with way too much food. You put in way too much effort that you really didn't need to. I think it's really good to kind of sit down, plan and assess that and decide, I need to find the balance here with me having a good time and having some nice things that everyone's going to enjoy. So that's kind of my first approach to Christmas.
That's a good approach.
Yeah. So when I think of the things that I remember at Christmas when I was a kid that I loved, it was things like, when this is getting into the food now. So we used to have mango and ham every Christmas Eve, and that was like a really exciting thing. Like, we'd have mum would make up the platter. We'd go look at all the Christmas lights, and then we'd come home to our platter of mango and ham, and we can still do that. So I can still carry on that tradition.
That would stress me out.
Why?
I don't like committing culinary sins when it comes to
Well, you're not invited, Foo, so don't worry.
There's nothing wrong with ham and mango, but together, like, just why? Just have them
Have you
separate.
ever had mango with ham?
Why not? You haven't lived.
It's kind of like peach and ham. It's very
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Very nice.
appetizing. Yeah.
Yeah, mango and ham, very nice. I make salads with mango and bacon in it. It's beautiful.
Bacon's a different
Yeah.
story.
Okay.
Bacon goes with everything.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my memories. Christmas Eve, and we'd have cherries and things like that. And Christmas Day, it was Cocoa Pops and Fruit Loops in the morning. It was the only time of year we were allowed to have them.
We used to do that too. Sometimes.
Yeah, it was like once a year we could have Cocoa Pops and Fruit Loops, and we'd pretty much eat the whole box that day.
Oh no!
But so I was kind of thinking, what could be the Gap's equivalent or Whole Food equivalent of that? And it'd be dessert for breakfast. It'd be like whatever cake or whatever treats the kids love, or French toast or pancakes, that kind of thing. Like having some ice cream. Making Russian custard ice cream and having that for breakfast. So something that feels a bit more like a treat for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Not that Russian custard ice cream would be a treat for me. That's just a daily. And then lunch for us was always prawns, seafood, roasted meats and veggies and salads. So lots of things that are still things you can have while you're on Gaps. You might just be more selective about the produce that we get than I would have been, than my parents would have been when I was a kid, because you just
looking out for
wasn't available then.
Free ham and
looking out for the quality that you're getting, and you'll be getting your grass-fed meats and your organic chicken and that kind of thing.
And the prawns, what was that thing about prawns for?
Sulfates. They dip them into a bath of sulfates on the boat, so that they can the color will go a bit brownish if they don't preserve them on the boat. It actually adversely affects the flavor. It tastes not as good, but it presents better. It looks nicer when it's been treated with preservatives. So prawns, unless you really know that they haven't been treated, are going to have preservatives in them. And if it's one of those things where it's like a Christmas tradition and you can't do without, then maybe consider it. But if you're really sensitive to these things, just be aware that most prawns are going to be treated with preservatives.
I think some, like the seafood shop where I live, they catch them and freeze them straight away on the boat, so they don't do the preservative thing. So maybe you can find those.
So the things that, like the food I remember most, besides the Cocoa Pops and Fruit Loops, are all things that I can still do now. So for us, our Gaps Christmas lunches don't really look that different. It's really the desserts, obviously, that look different from when I was a kid. So I always get a lot of questions coming up to this time of year about like people really worrying about how they're going to get around Gaps over Christmas. And when you're doing full Gaps, it's almost no different besides just making different desserts. So if Christmas is at my house and I'm making the food, and I'm quite lucky with my family because they're all whole foods as well. But yeah, like with our if we have guests that aren't doing Gaps or aren't doing whole foods, no one would notice that the food is any different. So I like to really get people's head around that, because you can kind of think, oh, Gaps at Christmas, okay, we're going to have our own separate thing to everybody else and they won't like it. It's not really like that. So all of Dylan's birthday parties, I've always done Gaps-friendly foods, and I don't say anything about it. Most of my friends know what I'm like anyway. But everyone loves the food, or they just tell me they do. But, there's no when you really kind of look, through the Life-Changing Food Cookbook and at the kind of foods that's allowed on full Gaps, you can really make anything. That's how I kind of see it now. And that the desserts and I've got a beautiful decadent chocolate tart that I've made for all sorts of people, like people that eat just a completely sad diet and they want the recipe.
Peanut butter one?
Oh, that's very, very similar.
Okay, because I made that one and took it to a potluck thing, and I had people raving about it. That was very rich. Like you need the tiniest bit, so it's great for gatherings because you can feed lots of people.
Yeah, I know, it's beautiful. So that one started out just as a decadent chocolate tart without the peanut butter layer, and then I made it with the peanut butter layer, and I was like, oh wow, it's really good.
We accidentally ended up with another layer because I said to my sister, can you make this? And so she made it, and then she forgot to put the cacao powder in the top layer. And so then she did, so it had the 2 layers, and then she did another chocolate layer. So it was so good.
Yum.
So what's the middle layer then without the cacao powder? What is it like?
It
would have just been a coconut cream,
Yeah.
So
like a peanut butter layer, a sweet coconut layer, and
then a bit of whipped cream on top and something.
Yeah, that would have been nice. But so that recipe's up on my blog. But yeah, with the desserts and like your chocolate, Joe, your chocolate that's in Life Changing Food as well. And oh my gosh, your salted caramel pecan pie, which is my favorite food, I think.
We have to make that every year.
So like I just really see it. There's no missing out, and anyone would love this food. Like, and they do. Whenever I've taken it to gatherings, everybody loves it. So as long as like in the position that you have control over the food that's available, then then it's quite easy to make sure that the food is good. And if you're going somewhere to a family's place for lunch, then
what does Dylan want? What's he after? Let me decide whether he gets it or not.
He wants toast.
Ham and mango, right?
It is paleo toast.
Oh, okay.
No, he wants Fruit Loops.
Okay.
No, you can't have them till Christmas. I'm joking.
Probably thinking, what in the world is Fruit Loops?
And you know what I discovered the other day, by the way? I came back from Perth with some of those fat roll muffins that we had in the bag, and I put them in the fridge, and I was really hungry, and I took them out of the fridge, and I filled them with cream, and I put some of my Lebanese oak honey on top, and it was like having an eclair. It was
of course.
So good. So I'm thinking of turning that into an eclair recipe.
Please do.
I will.
What a good idea.
You really won't believe how good it is. Like, it's just insanely good. So that's on the menu. Maybe I'll do that for our new cookbook. I'll perfect the recipe.
Do it.
It's so good. I reckon like with a chocolate cream as well might be really good. And like a maple syrup.
I think you should do it before Christmas so that we can have it for Christmas.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got to test it out, of course, just to make sure.
I'll test it.
Yeah. Okay, done. Where's Elyse gone?
She's going to help Dylan.
I'm here. I muted my microphone while sorting Dylan.
Oh, good on you.
Okay.
Very good. We were talking about the...
every time we do an interview with Elyse, I'm reminded by that guy who was on the telly and his son crawled into the room for his daughter, and he was trying to push her away and stuff, and then the woman did the same video, but like the kids walked in and then she put the kid in her lap and started breastfeeding.
Oh, she makes like a 4-course meal, does all the washing.
Yeah, that's right.
That's pretty much what I'm doing right now. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Mum's life.
Yeah.
Not the ones around that.
Okay.
So don't colour in.
All right. I'm getting told how to colour in now.
Oh, you've got to colour in. See, she's colouring in and making food.
I'm colouring and making podcasts. That's just, life of a new age mother.
I think one of the things that I love about changing over to healthier treats is I don't feel sick afterwards. Like my mum's pies, bless her, they are so sweet, especially the ones that she always used to make for Christmas. And you could eat a few bites and you couldn't even finish a slice.
Yeah.
They were so sickly sweet.
Well, I would finish it and I would eat another one and I would get even
I've never been able to do that. I can't eat a lot of rich food. I'll eat little bits, but it's like
I can bring it on.
But I just love that. Yeah, I just love the difference in how you feel after a whole food treat.
Yeah, you're not comatose. You're not. Yeah, absolutely. Like this morning I made. I just had some mangoes, coconut yogurt, and banana, and I had some roasted pistachios and a little bit of rose water splashed on top. Beautiful. And it's just like the flavors and the texture. It's really the essence of a really high-end dessert.
It is.
And it's just all made from real ingredients with very little preparation. And when you eat it, you're nourished.
It doesn't matter what time of day you eat it, breakfast, lunch or dinner, it's good for you.
So good. Exactly. And just like coconut yogurt is just one of the, I love it. I love it so much. It's just so, like the fat is so satiating. It's very creamy. This one's it's got a bit of vanilla in it.
Which one do you like?
I like Cocoa Tribe and I like Koyo.
Koyo.
Yeah, both of them are really good.
Yeah.
Cocoa Tribe is a little bit more of the sour style, so more of a Greek style yogurt. So they ferment it for longer.
Oh, that's nice.
Really good. And for desserty stuff, like the Koyo is really wonderful. It's a little bit less tart, so it just makes it a bit more suitable for desserts.
And for those who want to make their own coconut yogurt, there is a recipe in my old cookbook. It's a bit involved. There's also the option, Cultured Wellness sells the culture for making coconut yogurt, and all it is a tin of coconut cream and the culture, and you mix it and ferment it for a day and put it in the fridge. So that's super easy, but it's not the same as the bought ones. It's kind of it's almost fizzy. It's very strong tasting.
Yeah,
lots of probiotics in it though.
Culture is very active.
Yes, very active.
I think the stuff that they do commercially, like Koyo and Cocoa Tribe, I think it's not they're not using canned pasteurized stuff.
No.
They're just making their own coconut cream and then fermenting it from there as well.
And then they're adding guar gums and things like that to them. I'm back.
She's back.
No, not these guys. No.
Koyo has tapioca starch.
Yeah.
Koyo has tapioca starch, and some of them add other things to them as well.
Tapioca, I think that's okay. Tapioca.
Not if you're on GAPS though.
No.
Yeah.
Not a big deal for Christmas. Not a big deal.
So if your Christmas lunch is at another family member's house, that's when it can be a little bit more challenging to stick with your whole foods if that's not what they're doing. And in that case, it totally depends on where you are at on your journey. So for someone that's just following full GAPS and everything's going fine and you are allowed to be a little bit more lenient without too many issues, then it'd just be doing the best you can and perhaps taking dessert, because dessert's always the one that's going to have the gluten and the sugar and the vegetable oils and all the other things in it that we don't want. So that's kind of your best bet.
Sometimes if you have a roast turkey with stuffing and the gravy, that's another thing to watch.
Yeah, and then things like glazes and all that kind of thing. So it can sneak in everywhere. So when it comes to, I guess, it really depends with GAPS where you're at. So for people that have been on full GAPS for quite a while and things are going really well, and you kind of weigh up the stress versus what you're going to let your family be exposed to, then it's, you could kind of go along and make the best choices that you can with picking, the ham's probably not going to be nitrate free, but the salads may not be organic, but it's kind of weighing up. Everyone needs to really just make that decision for themselves and their family and where they're at on their journey, and what kind of things they can take along.
Matter.
Yeah, deciding if that one day is really going to have a big impact, or whether they feel like it's easier and less stressful to kind of let it go a little bit for a day and make the absolute best choices they can. And it's so individual.
You know how in the gut health support group we've sometimes had questions where people have said, oh no, I ate a rice cracker, do I go back right to the start? People freak out about I'm not doing it perfectly, do I have to start intro over? Can you just mention?
Yeah, there's no such thing as perfect with it. No. I'll definitely say that for sure. And no, you don't necessarily need to go right back. Your body will tell you if something was a real problem. So if you ate a rice cracker and found that you had quite a full-on reaction to it, the best thing probably would be to go back in that situation, and you would feel best from doing that. But if you ate something and there was no reaction and you could just keep going along with what you're doing, your body will tell you.
And when you say go back, it might just be do a little detox for a couple of days and then you can quickly move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So it could just be focus on stocks for a couple of days till you the symptom might have been gut pain until
we're not saying that you've gone back in terms of going back to your starting point.
No.
The body has gone back to its original disease.
No way.
We're saying that symptomatically you've regressed. But there's still, you've still progressed in your healing, but symptomatically you're showing signs of reactivity to that food.
Yeah.
And going back means going back to a simpler diet that allows your inflammation to go down, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what if it's something like gluten where you get a really big reaction? It was like an accidental thing.
Well, then the best thing is to think of stocks. So stocks are going to be what really makes you feel better quicker. So sticking to really simple kind of stage 1 stocks. And charcoal. So charcoal is, what was that?
Broth fast after Christmas.
Yes, that's it. So something that, that can really help with that is taking a bit of charcoal, which does, kind of mop things up, and doing just an enema.
Tablets.
Yeah, charcoal tablets. And if you do enemas, then doing an enema would be really helpful as well, just to help clear that out really quickly.
One tablet.
And so hang on a second, darling.
I can get it.
Where were we? So that can, the enemas and charcoal, that's what I'd say, and go back to stocks if you have something, and not to stress too much about it, because as soon as, if you then have it and then you start stressing about it, it's really going to make things worse anyway. So when it comes to being on GAPS, how strict you need to be around Christmas and how you need to approach it really depends on your own individual situation and your health issues, as to how you're going to approach that. So if you're just now starting intro with your family and Christmas is coming up, then the best thing you could do, if possible, is stick with where you're at, because you've started and you're putting a lot of that effort in leading into the school holidays, that you'd probably find if you broke it for Christmas and then saw some regressions, then you'd probably regret it and maybe you wouldn't enjoy Christmas as much. So and for a lot of people, when they're doing intro, they're doing it because, we're always doing it because there's issues, and for some people they're more complex than others and they're more sensitive than others. So for a lot of people doing intro, there's no choice about whether or not they relax a little on Christmas Day or if they stick exactly to it. A lot of people do just need to stick with where they're at. And I guess the positive thing about that is that they're doing it because they're going to be feeling better. So eating those other foods that aren't allowed, then that's not going to make them feel good, and then you wouldn't enjoy your day anyway.
And I think you have to remind yourself that this isn't forever, and next week
it's not.
I'll be able to eat heaps more.
Yeah, exactly. And for people that are on, the intro stages, I have a lot of clients now who are doing intro definitely for reasons, of course, but they're doing really well. They're finding GAPS quite easy to move through the stages. There's not any big food reactions at all. They're tolerating everything fine and feeling good as they're going through intro stages. And so if I had a family on around stage 4 and they were, Christmas is coming up and they wanted to kind of be a little bit lenient around Christmas Day, I would say, skip ahead to full GAPS, have a full GAPS Christmas Day, and then go back to where you were. So for some families, that would be completely okay. I say the same thing around birthdays and celebrations, and I help my clients decide if they're the kind of case where that would be fine. It would not adversely affect their healing at all. It's very individual how to approach Christmas Day when it comes to GAPS. And like you just said, Jo, it isn't forever, and for the outcomes that you get, it's worth it. It's worth a bit of the sacrifice. And I just try and encourage my clients to focus on things not food related as well. So getting some really cool board games or like outdoor games, street cricket, like that was always playing cricket out in the street. Like our whole family loves doing that. You know, so playing some games outside and making new memories. So you could make it a bit of a tradition at the end of Christmas Day to go to a local lookout or something like that, or like a beach or something, and sit and say what you're really grateful for, or something. You know, you could make your own new family traditions that's kind of taking the focus away from the food so much and the food comas that go with it. So yeah, that's kind of what we do in our family, is trying to bring the attention to that kind of stuff.
When it comes to like the shortcuts that you take, like someone's asked about shortcuts to food prep. Do you have any ideas around that? Things that you do that are like super easy and give it like a big bang, or things that you prepare ahead of time? What can you give us as tips there?
So I'll always prepare desserts ahead of time. So something I'm making this year, I'm actually doing the recipe for it today. I've made it. I'm just like finalizing the recipe today so I can share it. So you guys will already know my mango Elyse ice cream. So I'm making that into a cake.
Yum.
With some other tropical fruits and things in it. Yeah. So like that, I'll always have things
on your blog, you said?
I will.
Yeah.
Or I might be sharing it in my 12 days of Christmas. So I'm doing a little 12 days of Christmas thing because I'm getting a bit excited about Christmas. So actually I think it's going to be the recipes in that. So I will share it on my blog after that. But if you want it first, you'd have to go to my Facebook page and there's a link at the top to join the 12 days of Christmas. So I'll always make things like that ahead of time, and that makes Christmas Day so much easier. And I think the most beautiful foods at Christmas are the simplest ones, and I think it's when you're kind of organising, preparing and deciding what you're going to focus your attention on for Christmas, then like think of simple things. We can want to get really complex and make really fancy things, but I really love to keep it simple, and I think that's where the beauty in food really is. So doing like a honey glazed ham or something like that's big and it's still like is like a centerpiece in the middle of your table, but it's not too complex or time consuming. So the roast turkey and that kind of thing. So and always getting your family to bring things. So bring it. Like you could kind of make suggestions, you bring this and you bring the salad. So not putting it on yourself to do everything and say, no one bring everything, I'll make everything. Unless you think your family would go buy like a Woolworths coleslaw or something and bring it. Maybe you do want to just make the food.
Or at least bring one main, one salad, one dessert, because then you're covered.
Yeah. So if you're going, exactly. And that's
and you can usually find a few bits and pieces, even in the most decadent Christmas meals. You can usually find something that you can eat.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, I always try not to stress too much about it, and especially just depending on where your family are in their GAPS journey. If you're in the intro stages, you probably aren't planning to go and have a family Christmas, because planning to do intro, you might decide that's not the best, that's not going to really work, or everyone's got to come to our place and we'll make sure everything's okay. But as I said, if you're further along in GAPS and things are going great, then doing the best you can on that one day will probably be okay, and that's something your practitioner could help you decide what would be the best approach with what you guys can deal with. But like Christmas is it's meant to be enjoyable, and I really encourage all of my clients to find their way of enjoying it. And for a lot of them, it is kind of making it not so much about the food and coming up with other traditions that they can do with their family.
Yeah. I think it'd be good if all three of us brainstormed a few of these questions like that we've had from listeners, like what are the best potluck take-along meals? So we're saying it's great to take something to share. Can we just all give a few ideas of what we usually take? Like I can think of a couple of things, for instance, from Life Changing Food, the Moroccan cauliflower couscous salad. That one is great as a side dish. and it's kind of festive looking and it's delicious. You can put the dried sour cherries in it and the herbs and the nuts, pistachios and everything, and it's really yummy. What are you guys thinking of?
Well, one of the things that I really like is taking the stress out of the cooking time needed for meat. So, when people do birds or lamb leg or things like that, these types of cuts need to be really very accurate when you cook them. So, like, you shouldn't overcook lamb leg because it needs to be nice and pink on the inside, and the outside should be, just beautiful and caramelized. But if you switch that cut to, say, lamb shoulder, which is a lower cooking cut, and you just put everything into the slow cooker. So there's a recipe for the lamb shoulder and life-changing food. But it's so simple. It's basically lamb shoulder with salt and a little water.
I'm planning on taking that one. I love it.
Yeah, and you just turn on the slow cooker before you go to bed. Wake up the next day and you've got like a full of the bone lamb shoulder. You get the stock out, you reduce it, you make a gravy. Joe, you've got a recipe for starch-free
gravy, or else you can do the wine one in the book.
The red wines in the cookbook. And it's basically a reduction of those juices. Then what you do is you just get the lamb and you shred it and you pour the gravy on top, and you've got this amazing dish that's just super simple.
Do you usually shred it on a platter and pour the juices over or the gravy over it and serve it like that?
Yeah, depends like how. I would sometimes do that. I use that lamb in so many different dishes as well. So I can make a very simple rice pilaf using the stock, and then I fold the shredded lamb into that.
Which is a great one if there's quite a crowd because it bulks it right out.
Totally. So easy. And to make rice takes 20 minutes. It's not a difficult thing. Folding the lamb into it and then putting things like roasted pistachios or almonds on top with the tahini sauce. Like, that's the simplest dish in the world, but people go crazy for it because these are flavors and textures that go really well together, and they're not the usual things Australians cook for Christmas. So it's just quite impressive.
Something a little different, yeah.
Yeah, I love that dish. And
me too.
I really like my herb-crusted fish. So that one you can prepare the day before. It's really nice cold, and it's a baked fish with a herb and tahini crust on top, and you take it the next day on a platter. It looks spectacular. You can use a whole fish for it as well, not just the side, and it looks amazing. Just so beautiful to look at, and it tastes great. And honestly, the preparation just takes no time. We're putting a recipe up for that using a Thermomix method on the blog very, very soon. So next week it'll come out, hopefully. Have a look out for that one.
I just take a ham. You don't have to do anything to it.
Yeah. And then there's leftovers, which I love.
You just say, I'll bring the ham, and just order. Make sure you put your order in for your nitrate-free ham.
My husband won't eat ham, and I said to my nephew, because it's at his place this year, I said, "What's your favourite meat?" He said, "Lamb," and I'm like, "Easy, okay, lamb shoulder." Everyone.
Yeah, that's so easy. So I usually do something like the roasted lambs or a salad, and dessert. Like I'm always the one that'll take dessert to things, and they're such good things because you can just prepare it beforehand.
I must admit, we all bring a dessert each. Because you've got to have, like we were saying with Jude, you've got to have at least 4 desserts, right?
Yeah, definitely. There needs to be a dessert smorgasbord.
One dessert I really love is jelly, like jelly and cream. I'm just making a fruit jelly with gelatin and any kind of fruit juice that you make.
So refreshing in summer too.
Simple, and then on top you just whip some cream or some labna with sour cream and
can you please tell them how you did that labna with sour cream, or what was it that you did at the event the other week?
What did I make? Let me try. So it was a labna, which is strained yogurt. It's a Lebanese food, and I whipped some cream, folded the labna in with maple syrup and rose water.
It's unbelievable.
And I served that with
fruit,
mangoes and blueberries.
And strawberries. And that's all it was. And it was honestly, it tasted so decadent, and everybody was asking for the recipe, which you still need to share somewhere on Facebook or something for us.
Yeah, it's really, really good, and it's so simple.
Yeah.
That's really what I love about those, like having a flavor, say like rose water. You take something from being just cream to being something really that appeals to all our senses.
Yeah,
the extra smell,
because you've got that
flavor.
smell.
Yeah, and then that ties in, that kind of beautiful floral aspect ties into the berries and the mangoes, and just texturally with, like, you have the berries, like let's say the strawberries, they have a different texture to the blueberries, they have a different texture to the mango, and they go on a spectrum of softness, from this cream being the softness, followed by the mango, followed by the strawberries, and then the blueberries, and then you can put some nuts on top for extra crunch, and you've got, you know, 4
I love the celebrating what's in season and the simple, like the simplicity of it, and that takes that stress factor down so much. But the food is so beautiful when you just do something simple to really just bring out the flavors of the food.
And how easy is that? There's also things like out for a salad, the roasted veggie salad in our cookbook, which I make for so many gatherings, and just put really beautiful leafy green, a mixture of leafy greens in there, and then I prefer it with the tahini sauce. We've mentioned tahini sauce 3 times though. Did you realise, Vlad?
It's the Lebanese word for Christmas.
What'd you say?
It's the Lebanese word for Christmas.
So but that always goes down really well. The roasted veggie salad, because especially when it's middle of summer, to have sort of cold sides is really good.
Yeah, and something like that's naturally kind of gapsish is panna cotta.
I was thinking of your panna cotta. So good.
Yeah, so gelatin mixed in with like coconut cream or something like that, and vanilla.
Yeah.
Just super easy, sets beautifully, very impressive. Make a honey and some kind of aromatic, like, you know, I use rose water on everything, just like
rose water and tahini and chickpeas and everything.
Like orange blossom water.
I'm not complaining because your food always tastes amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really.
Can you get that?
What about
well, hold on 1 second, Joe. Let's ask Dylan what his favorite Christmas food is.
Yeah, let's.
Oh, heck, I don't think you can even remember last Christmas.
What's
It's only 4. Hey, Dylan, what's your favorite food for Christmas?
It would be cookies.
Cookies.
Oh, right.
We've been deciding things for our Christmas menu, and Dylan wants me to make him some ginger cookies.
Well, we have a good gingerbread Christmas cookie, grain-free Gaps.
Oh,
Yeah.
great. I will check that out.
And it can be rolled out for gingerbread men.
Yes, that's what we're going to do. We've got a plan. We're going to the shops this afternoon to get some cookie cutters.
That's the tradition in our family ever since ever since we were kids. We always did the Christmas cookies. We had a big party with all the cousins, and we'd all do Christmas cookies and, of course, put horrible icing on them.
Yeah.
So when my kids were younger, I started doing the royal icing with I ground up my own I think I did it with coconut sugar and egg white. So, yeah, that works really well as well.
Yeah, I wonder if you could do it with honey.
Not with – it doesn't set.
Yeah.
But even without just the raisins for eyes and all that, they just love them.
Yeah, and that's the thing is getting –
Are we talking about gingerbread cookies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Using raisins for eyes for the
gingerbread? Currants, sorry. Raisins are too big.
Oh, yum. That sounds
Otherwise, it'd be like alien gingerbread.
Yeah. Yeah. And getting the kids involved, like anything, getting the kids involved in what you make for Christmas and take, then they're going to be a bit more excited about those things and want those things too. But yeah, another thing I just thought of leading up to Christmas, all the advent calendars.
Yeah.
That's another thing that people are always trying to work around. So what we do, we actually order it online. It's like this string that has 23, because Advent's actually 23 days, is 23 strings hanging 23 silk bags hanging off a string, and then there's something in each bag, and then you just kind of unwrap each bag each day of Advent and then set it out on a table, and they're just all different, some things from nature, some, all different kinds of little things. Yeah. So there's other ideas you can do for that don't have to be the chocolate in the
tree decoration.
Or I have heard of other people buying the Advent calendars from the shops, the ones that, I don't know, we all had when we were kids, and pulling the tray out, throwing away the chocolates, and then making their own chocolate.
Good idea. Why didn't I?
Little molds, yeah. So I've heard of that too. So that can be done for the GAPS kid that really doesn't want to miss out on the Advent calendar.
And I'll just mention one more thing, because people have asked about friendly treats and gifts, food gifts to give. On the blog, there's marshmallow, there's chocolate, there's Rocky Road, there's a maple butter toffee that we have to make every Christmas, or be so sad.
But don't put them on
presents, and they love it. So that one does have coconut sugar, so it's not a. It does make another one out of honey and butter.
I can't hear you, Joe.
Sorry.
So one second. At least Dylan's voice is a bit over the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the blog, there's a maple butter toffee, and that one's great for gifts and for treats, for like stocking stuffers and things like that. It has coconut sugar in it, but you can make one with just honey and butter. And then there's the marshmallows, Rocky Road, chocolate, all that kind of stuff. They're great for gifts. Like, you can do your little... And also I was thinking for the shortbread, the Mumble shortbread on the blog, you could do little shortbreads using that recipe, couldn't you?
Yeah. Or you can just make the Mumble. You don't have to make...
It's not Easter, but...
Easter thing, but for Christmas...
Oh, everybody loves that.
It's so good. That's easy made in a tray as well. You can just roll out the tray, put almonds or walnuts with like honey in the middle layer, and then put the other topping inside of the topping on top. Cut it into squares, bake it. It's delicious like that. You can also put the dates in too, with the butter and the dates. Really, really.
I think I'm going to have to make it for Christmas, because it's something that we don't have very often, and it's just so delicious.
Yeah, that one's really good. It's got tapioca, I believe, that one. But, for those of you who can handle it, it is awesome.
But we'll get some links to a few things up on Facebook. But honestly, if you can't find a recipe for something you really want, just Google quirky, and whatever it is, it'll probably come up.
Put them down.
I tell people this in the chat group all the time, because someone asked about chocolate. I need a chocolate recipe, and I'm like, just all you do is Google quirky chocolate. It comes up. Quirky gingerbread, quirky trifle, quirky marshmallow. We've just got so many recipes on there that you can use. So have a look.
Yeah, don't Google Joe Witten, because the first thing that Google suggests is Joe Witten husband.
Yeah, for some reason. Obviously, people have been trying to check out my husband, which makes him even more determined not to have a photo online.
That's so funny.
Oh, no, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Now they're going to go and check that out again, aren't they?
Now that's going to get more hits. Yeah.
Sorry, Elyse, also, if you have any recipes you want to share, it'll be... So you've got your 12 days of Christmas, and you'll probably share stuff on your Facebook.
Yeah, I'll be sharing a few things. I've got quite a few ideas, so I've just got to make them all and then get them all up.
Yeah, we'll put a link to your site on Facebook.
Yeah. Thank you. And I do still have a special going on at the moment too. I've been doing 50% off my coaching. So for one-off sessions with me, leading up till the 15th of December when I go on holidays, there's half price one-off sessions with me. So I think I have like 10 more left. So they're nearly booked out, but there's a few more left of those.
I know a few people that I need to tell.
Yeah, cool.
A few emails that we've had that want some advice about who to go to. So I'll let them know.
Yes, well, I'm happy to help them.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much, Elyse and Dylan, for being on the show. I hope we can do
Dylan loves it.
Editing, but we'll be with you guys next time with a podcast with and Joe, I'll pass it over to you to say your goodbyes as well.
Okay. Yep. So Fuad and I are looking forward to taking some time off over Christmas, so you'll see less of us online probably. We hope that you guys are all going to get to have a good break as well. And yeah, we've got one more podcast with Jude, and then we'll take a break until probably, will we break till the New Year, Fu? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
And then we'll be back.
Back in Jan.
So I bet that there's lots of podcasts of ours you haven't listened to yet. So if you miss us, you can go back and listen to an old one. Actually, Fuad, I just have to tell you this before we go.
Yes.
I was at the lake yesterday afternoon, and I saw a lady there who's in the gut health group, and we were chatting, and she said, I've been going through your podcasts from the beginning because it's really helping me because I'm just new and, on early intro. So your early podcasts are really helpful. And she said, today I listened to one where you interviewed Fuad, and it was like podcast number 30. We weren't working together or anything at the time. And she goes, it was so funny because he said something about, well, maybe one day we'll do a book together. And it was so cool.
Prophetic, Joe. It happened.
Now look at it.
Yeah, well, at least maybe one day we'll do a book together.
Yeah, maybe one day.
That's funny. So yeah, have a listen to the old podcast. You'll hear some gems in there.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll catch you later.
Thanks,
bye.
Thank you so much, Elyse.
A pleasure, always a pleasure.
Okay, see ya.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.